The Galactic Council chamber hummed with the kind of self-important energy you'd expect from a room full of beings who thought they ran the universe. Which technically they did. Sort of. If you ignored the paperwork backlog and the fact that half their member species couldn't agree on what constituted proper bathroom etiquette. Admiral zyx'thok, a 7-foot-tall insectoid with more medals than actual military experience, clicked his mandibles as he addressed the assembly. Fellow counselors, today we solved the human problem once and for all. Counselor Vex Nara, whose species resembled what would happen if you crossed a jellyfish with a filing cabinet, pulsed with bureaucratic satisfaction. Indeed, Admiral. These humans have been far too uppity since they achieved faster-than-light travel. Building colonies, establishing trade routes, acting like they belong in civilized space. Intelligence Officer Krim Balks, a nervous creature that looked like a hairless cat had been stretched through a taffy machine, shuffled his data tablets anxiously. Sir, about the human homeworld classification, there might be some concerns we should. Concerns? Admiral zyx'thok interrupted, his compound eyes glittering with disdain. What concerns could there possibly be about conquering a single primitive world? Krim Balks's whiskers twitched. Well, sir, according to our records, the human homeworld is classified as a Class-15 Deathworld. That's the highest rating on our scale. The only other Class-15 worlds we know of are completely uninhabitable volcanic hellscapes or radiation-soaked wastelands. Counselor Vex Nara's translucent form rippled with what passed for laughter among her species. Obviously a clerical error, Officer Krim Balks. How could intelligent life evolve on a death world? It's literally impossible by every biological model we have. That's what I thought too, Krim Balks continued, his voice getting higher with stress, but I've triple-checked the classification. Their world, they call it Earth, has been confirmed as Class-15 by 3 separate survey teams over the past century. Admiral zyx'thok made a dismissive clicking sound. Survey teams make mistakes. Clearly, some junior xenobiologist miscalibrated their equipment. No species could survive on an actual death world, let alone build a civilization capable of space travel. But sir. No buts, officer. We have a fleet of 200 ships, the finest warriors from 12 different species and weapons that could crack a moon. Even if their little mud ball is slightly more dangerous than average, what's the worst that could happen? Famous last words, as they say in human literature. Though to be fair, the Galactic Council didn't read much human literature. They were about to get a very intensive crash course in human creativity, however. The invasion fleet launched 3 days later, with Admiral zyx'thok confident that they'd be back in time for the victory celebration he'd already scheduled. Krim Balks spent the entire journey to Earth frantically rechecking his data and developing what humans would recognize as a stress-induced ulcer. As the fleet approached the Sol system, even Admiral zyx'thok had to admit the planet looked surprisingly pleasant. Blue oceans, white clouds, green continents. Definitely not the hellscape he'd expected from a Class-15 rating. See? He told Krim Balks smugly. Obviously a clerical error. Look how peaceful it is. Krim Balks stared at his readings and felt his fur stand on end. Sir, I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the planet's surface. And there are artificial satellites everywhere. Hundreds of them. Primitive communication networks, Admiral zyx'thok waved dismissively. Nothing our fleet can't handle. That's when the first human transmission came through. The voice that crackled through the alien fleet's communication system was distinctly unimpressed. Unknown vessels, this is Commander Jake Murphy of Earth Defense Command. You're in violation of Sol system airspace. State your business or prepare to be escorted out. Admiral zyx'thok was so surprised he nearly fell out of his command chair. They detected us? That's impossible. We're using military-grade stealth technology. Should I respond, sir? Asked his communications officer. Of course, respond. Tell them they're about to be conquered by the glorious Galactic Council. There was a pause after the message was transmitted. Then Commander Murphy's voice came back, dripping with sarcasm. "Oh great, another Tuesday. Lisa, we've got another alien invasion fleet. You want to handle the paperwork, or should I?" A female voice in the background replied, "I handled the last 3. This one's yours, Jake, and make sure they fill out the proper forms this time." Admiral zyx'thok's mandibles clicked in confusion. Forms? What forms? And what did he mean by the last 3? Krimbalks was frantically checking his intelligence reports. "Sir, according to my data, humans have had 17 different first contact scenarios in the past 5 years. Apparently, word hasn't gotten around that Earth is under Galactic Council protection protocols. We never issued any protection protocols for Earth." Counselor Vexnara's voice came through the comm system from the council chambers. "That's because Earth isn't officially recognized as inhabited by intelligent life," Krimbalks explained, his stress levels approaching critical. "But sir, if they've had 17 first contacts, why didn't any of those species report back to us?" Commander Murphy's voice interrupted their confusion. "Listen, bug boys, here's how this works. You have 2 options. Option 1, turn around and leave quietly. Option 2, stick around and find out why we call this place home." Admiral zyx'thok bristled at being called bug boy. "Insolent mammals. We are the might of the Galactic Council. We have 200 ships." 200? That's cute. "Lisa, they brought 200 ships. Dr. Lisa Reeves' voice carried the patient tone of someone explaining things to a particularly slow child. "Jake, remember what happened to the Zephyrian Empire when they brought 300 ships?" "Oh right, the Zephyrians. Yeah, they didn't read the warning signs either. What was it they said when they limped home? Something about the humans are insane and their planet is trying to kill us." Sergeant Mike Torres chimed in from somewhere in the background. "Don't forget the Crystalline Collective. They lasted almost a whole week before requesting emergency evacuation." Admiral zyx'thok was starting to feel like he'd walked into the middle of a conversation he wasn't equipped to understand. What warning signs? What happened to these other species? Commander Murphy sighed. "Look, I'm trying to be nice here, but you guys clearly didn't do your homework. Tell you what, land a small scouting party. Take a look around, get the full Earth experience. Then we'll talk about whether you really want to proceed with this invasion thing." "This is obviously some sort of trick," Admiral zyx'thok muttered to his staff. "They're trying to lure us into a trap." Krimbalks's fur was now standing completely on end. "Sir, maybe we should listen to them. The classification data has to be accurate for some reason." "Nonsense. We'll send down a reconnaissance team to gather intelligence. How dangerous could one little planet be?" The scouting party consisted of 50 of the Council's finest warriors, equipped with the best armor and weapons their technology could provide. They landed in what appeared to be a peaceful meadow somewhere in the North American continent. Within 6 hours, 30 of them were in the medical bay with mysterious rashes. 12 had been stung by something called bees and were experiencing severe allergic reactions. 5 had eaten what they thought was safe vegetation and were suffering from food poisoning. And 3 had encountered something the humans called poison ivy. The team leader's report was somewhat incoherent due to the swelling in his respiratory system, but the general message was clear: this planet is actively trying to murder us. Commander Murphy's voice came over the comm channel, sounding genuinely sympathetic. "Yeah, that's pretty normal for a Tuesday afternoon in Kansas. You should see what happens when the weather gets cranky." Admiral zyx'thok stared at the casualty reports from his scouting party and felt something he hadn't experienced in decades: doubt. "Explain to me how 50 trained warriors can be defeated by plants?" The medical officer, a floating blob of what appeared to be sentient gelatin, pulsed nervously. "Sir, the toxicity levels are unprecedented. This poison ivy produces a chemical compound that causes severe dermatological reactions in 17 different species, and that's just from casual contact. What about the bee incident? Apparently, they're small flying insects that defend their territory by injecting organic toxins. The humans consider them beneficial and actually protect them. The locals we encountered seemed genuinely concerned about our soldiers attacking the bee colonies. Krimbalks looked up from his frantically updated threat assessment reports. Sir, I've been analyzing the environmental data from the planet's surface. The situation is far worse than we initially calculated. How much worse? Well, for starters, their atmospheric composition is 21% oxygen. That's enough to cause combustion reactions in 4 of our member species. The gravity is 1.2 times standard, which explains why our troops are reporting fatigue. And the ambient radiation from their sun is in the UV spectrum, which is carcinogenic to most council species. Admiral zyx'thok felt his confidence evaporating. Surely the humans must live in protected environments, underground cities, something? No, sir. According to our surveillance, they live directly on the surface. They actually go outside for recreational activities. They have something called sunbathing, where they deliberately expose themselves to the harmful radiation. That's suicide. That's what I thought, but apparently it's considered relaxing. Sir, there's more. Their planet experiences extreme weather phenomena that would be classified as natural disasters on any civilized world. Hurricanes with wind speeds over 200 kilometers per hour, tornadoes that can level cities, lightning storms that deliver millions of volts of electricity. Councillor Vexnara's voice crackled through the calm from the council chambers. And the humans evacuate during these events. No, Councillor. They have something called storm chasing, where they deliberately seek out the most dangerous weather patterns. For fun. There was a long silence on the command deck. Dr. Lisa Reeves' voice came through the communication channel, sounding almost apologetic. Hey, Admiral, this is Dr. Reeves from the Earth Defense Command. I noticed your reconnaissance team ran into some trouble. Would you like us to send up some basic survival guides? Survival guides? Yeah, just basic stuff. What plants to avoid, which animals are dangerous, how to recognize venomous species, that sort of thing. We usually give them to new colonists, but they might help your people too. Admiral zyx'thok's pride warred with his growing concern for his troops. How many dangerous species are we talking about? Oh, just the usual. Venomous snakes, poisonous spiders, carnivorous mammals, parasitic insects, toxic plants, predatory birds, aggressive reptiles, the normal stuff you'd find on any habitable world. Krimbalks made a choking sound. Sir, she just described what would be considered an extinction-level threat catalog on most worlds. Normal? Admiral zyx'thok's voice came out as a squeak. Commander Murphy chimed in. Doc, don't forget about the seasonal variations. These guys should probably know about winter. Oh right, winter. Admiral, I hope your people handle temperature extremes well. It gets pretty cold in some places, like -40 degrees cold. -40 degrees? How do you survive? Oats, mostly. Hot chocolate. Central heating if you're feeling fancy. Sergeant Torres added helpfully, tell them about the hurricanes, Doc. Hurricane season's coming up. Right, hurricane season. Admiral, you might want to keep your ships well away from the planet during storm season. We usually lose a few satellites to the high winds. Admiral zyx'thok looked at his fleet readiness reports and realized with growing horror that his sophisticated starships were less weather-resistant than the humans' communication satellites. Perhaps, he said slowly, we should reconsider our tactical approach. The full-scale assault began at dawn, Earth Standard Time. Admiral zyx'thok had decided that overwhelming force was the answer to Earth's environmental challenges. 200 ships descended through the atmosphere, launching simultaneous attacks on major population centers across the globe. What he hadn't accounted for was the humans' complete lack of panic. Invasion fleet, This is Commander Murphy again. I tried to warn you folks, but you insisted on doing this the hard way. Fair enough. Just so you know, we've declared this a Level 3 training exercise. Training exercise? Admiral zyx'thok sputtered. Yeah, our military has been getting soft lately. Nothing like a good old-fashioned alien invasion to keep everyone sharp. Try not to take it personally. The first wave of alien troops landed in Australia, which seemed like a reasonable choice given the continent's relatively low population density. This turned out to be a tactical error of galactic proportions. Within 3 hours, the emergency medical channels were flooded with panic-stricken alien voices. Command, we need immediate evacuation. The local fauna is insane. Define insane, strike Team 7. Everything here is poisonous. We've encountered spiders the size of dinner plates, snakes that can kill with a single bite, and something called a drop bear that the locals keep warning us about. Drop bears aren't real, Dr. Reeves' voice cut in, sounding amused. The locals are messing with you, but watch out for the cassowaries. Those things will absolutely murder you. What's a cassowary? Think angry dinosaur with anger management issues. The second wave had landed in Canada, expecting easier resistance from a country known for politeness. They encountered something far worse than weapons, Canadian geese. Command, requesting immediate air support. What's your situation? Strike Team 3. We're under attack by hostile flying creatures. They're fearless. They're coordinated. They don't respond to weapons fire. Commander Murphy's laughter came through the comm channel. Oh man, you guys landed during nesting season, didn't you? Yeah, Canadian geese don't negotiate. They don't retreat. They just attack until you leave or die. How do humans deal with these creatures? Mostly we just avoid them and hope for the best. The third wave made the mistake of landing in Florida. The reports from that front were so bizarre that Admiral zyx'thok initially assumed his troops were suffering from hallucinations. Sir, we've encountered a human male who claims to be wrestling with a large reptilian predator for entertainment. That's impossible. He's winning, sir, and there's a crowd cheering him on. Are the humans using some sort of mind control technology? No, sir. This appears to be a regular recreational activity. The human keeps shouting something about Florida Man and asking if we want to see him wrestle a shark next. Sergeant Torres' voice came through the channel, barely contained laughter evident in his tone. Yeah, that sounds about right for Florida. You guys picked a fun place to start your invasion. By the 4th hour, Admiral zyx'thok was receiving casualty reports that defied all logic. His troops were being defeated not by human weapons, but by the planet itself. Sir, Strike Team 12 reports that it's raining. So? What? Their equipment is malfunctioning due to water exposure. How is that possible? We have military-grade environmental sealing. Dr. Reeves' voice cut in, sounding genuinely helpful. Are they near the ocean? Because that might be acid rain. We've got some pollution issues we're working on. Nothing major, just enough to corrode most metals over time. Acid rain is a minor pollution issue. Well, it's better than it was in the 1980s. You should have seen it then. The breaking point came when Strike Team 5 encountered a suburban human child. Command, we've cornered a young human, requesting instructions for prisoner extraction. Proceed with standard capture protocols. There was a long pause. Sir, the human child has, it's hard to explain. It appears to have domesticated several of the venomous creatures we were warned about. Explain. It's carrying a venomous spider in its hands, voluntarily. It says the spider is its pet and asks if we want to pet it too. Admiral zyx'thok felt his worldview crumbling. A human child has weaponized the local fauna? Commander Murphy's voice was rich with amusement. Oh, that's probably just a kid with a pet tarantula. Completely normal. My nephew has 3 of them. 3 venomous predators? They're not really venomous to humans. More like mildly irritating. Kids love them because they're fuzzy. The final straw came when Admiral zyx'thok received a medical report that his chief tactical officer had been hospitalized after contact with a common Earth plant. It was just a flower, the medical officer reported. He stopped to smell it and went into anaphylactic shock. Apparently, he's allergic to something called pollen. Dr. Reeves sounded sympathetic. Oh, seasonal allergies. Yeah, that's rough. We've got some antihistamines if you need them. Pretty much every human deals with pollen allergies to some degree. You're telling me that your species has evolved to coexist with atmospheric toxins that would be lethal to most council species. Well, when you put it like that, it sounds way more dramatic than it actually is. By hour 6 of the invasion, Admiral zyx'thok was beginning to suspect that his understanding of military tactics might need some revision. His forces were scattered across the planet, most of them calling for medical evacuation or emergency rescue from various environmental hazards. That's when Commander Murphy's tone shifted from amused to something considerably more serious. All right, Admiral, playtime's over. You've had your fun, our people have gotten some good training in, but now you're starting to damage civilian infrastructure. Time to wrap this up. You can't be serious. We still have over 100 operational ships. Yeah, about that. The human's voice carried a dangerous edge that made Admiral zyx'thok's exoskeleton itch. See, the thing about humans is that we've spent our entire evolutionary history learning to survive on this planet. Everything here has tried to kill us at some point. We've gotten pretty good at killing back. Dr. Reeves cut in, her scientific curiosity apparently overriding the military situation. Admiral, I've been analyzing your species biology from the medical data your troops transmitted. You're carbon-based, oxygen-breathing, with a decentralized nervous system and exoskeletal structure. Fascinating. You're basically giant space bugs. We prefer the term arthropoid-derived, Admiral zyx'thok replied stiffly. Right, sorry. Giant space arthropods. The point is, we know exactly how to deal with arthropods. We've had plenty of practice. Sergeant Torres' voice joined the conversation with the kind of enthusiasm that made seasoned warriors nervous. Doc, should we tell them about the raid? What raid? Admiral zyx'thok asked, though he was increasingly certain he didn't want to know. Commander Murphy sighed. Well, since you asked nicely. While you've been playing around with our defensive positions, we've had teams infiltrating your ships. Turns out your security systems weren't designed to keep out species that evolved to hunt persistence predators and apex omnivores. That's impossible. Our ships are sealed. Yeah, sealed against normal environmental hazards. Not against humans with duct tape, determination, and a complete disregard for personal safety. Mike, how many ships did your people board? 43 so far, Sergeant Torres replied cheerfully. Turns out your atmospheric systems weren't designed for Earth's microbial environment. We didn't even have to do anything special, just walk around normally. Your crew started getting sick within hours. Krim Balks's voice came through the communication system, high-pitched with panic. Sir, I'm reading massive system failures across the fleet. Life support, navigation, weapons systems, all showing critical errors. Dr. Reeves sounded genuinely apologetic. Sorry about that. Humans carry a lot of symbiotic bacteria that are completely harmless to us, but apparently pretty rough on species that evolved in sterile environments. We tried to warn you about biological contamination, but you seem determined to do this the hard way. Admiral zyx'thok felt the last of his tactical confidence evaporate. You mean to tell me that you defeated our invasion fleet with germs? Well, germs, environmental hazards, local wildlife, and good old-fashioned human ingenuity, Commander Murphy replied. Plus you landed during allergy season, which really wasn't optimal timing on your part. This is impossible. We're a spacefaring civilization. We've conquered dozens of worlds. Sergeant Tora's voice carried the patience of someone explaining basic concepts to a child. Yeah, but those were probably normal worlds. Nice, safe, boring worlds where the air doesn't try to poison you and the wildlife doesn't consider everything else a potential meal. Earth's what we call a character-building environment. Character building? It either makes you stronger or it makes you dead, Dr. Reeves explained helpfully. Humans got stronger. We're kind of proud of that. The final blow to Admiral zyx'thok's dignity came when he received a transmission from his own flagship. Admiral, this is Commander Vex Krill. We've lost main power, life support is failing, and the human infiltration team has taken control of the bridge. Resistance was futile? Admiral zyx'thok asked weakly. No, sir, they were very polite about it. They brought sandwiches and offered to help repair our environmental systems. Apparently, they felt bad about the bacterial contamination. Commander Murphy's voice came back on the channel. Admiral, I'm going to make you a deal. You call off what's left of your invasion, get your people proper medical treatment, and head home. In exchange, we'll provide full technical assistance for your repairs and send you off with a complete survival guide for Earth-like environments. And if we refuse? Well, it's winter in the Northern Hemisphere, hurricane season in the South Atlantic, fire season in Australia, and tornado season in the American Midwest. Plus, it's almost time for the Canadian geese to start their migration patterns. Murphy paused. Oh, and we haven't even started using actual weapons yet. Admiral zyx'thok looked at his casualty reports, his fleet status, and his completely demoralized crew. What kind of survival guide? The complete works, Dr. Reeves said enthusiastically. Biological hazards, environmental threats, seasonal variations, local wildlife behavior patterns, plus a comprehensive first aid manual for carbon-based life forms visiting hostile environments. You have manuals for this? Oh sure, we give them to all our off-world visitors. Most species find them helpful. The Zephyrians sent us a very nice thank you note. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the most well-attended meeting in the organization's history. Word of the Earth incident had spread through diplomatic channels with the speed that only truly spectacular failures can achieve. Admiral zyx'thok stood before the assembled representatives, his once gleaming uniform now stained with something that human medical personnel had assured him was just pollen. But you should probably take an antihistamine. His report was brief, to the point, and utterly devastating to his military career. In conclusion, he said, his voice hoarse from what Dr. Reeves had cheerfully diagnosed as seasonal allergies, I formally recommend that Earth be reclassified from a Class-15 Deathworld to a Class-20 extinction event, and that humans be reclassified from primitive species to apex predator. Approach with extreme caution. Councillor Vex Nara's gelatinous form had lost most of its usual bureaucratic smugness. Admiral, your report states that humans consider their planet's environmental hazards to be normal background conditions. Can you elaborate? They have children's television programs about the dangerous wildlife, Admiral zyx'thok replied flatly. Educational entertainment. They teach their offspring to identify venomous species for fun. A nervous murmur rippled through the council chamber. Rimbaux, who had somehow managed to survive the expedition despite having a complete nervous breakdown, stood to address the assembly. His fur was now permanently standing on end, giving him the appearance of having been electrocuted, which technically he had been during the thunderstorm incident on day 2. Esteemed council members, he began, his voice shaking only slightly, I have prepared a comprehensive threat assessment of the human homeworld. The executive summary is 17 pages long. The full report is currently at 4,000 pages and growing. 4,000 pages? Yes, Counselor, and that's just the biological hazards. We haven't even started cataloging the geological instabilities, atmospheric phenomena, or what humans refer to as extreme weather events. A delegate from the crystalline collective, whose species resembled living gemstones, chimed in with a sound like wind through crystal caves. Representative Krim Balks, can you give us the highlights? Krim Balks consulted his notes, which had grown into several thick volumes. Their planet experiences regular seismic activity that would be considered catastrophic on most worlds. They've built their largest cities directly on top of known fault lines, for convenience. Another murmur from the assembly. They have weather patterns that regularly produce wind speeds exceeding 300 kilometers per hour. The humans have designated this as severe weather and have developed recreational activities around witnessing these events. Recreational activities? Storm-chasing counselor. They consider it entertainment. The delegate from the Aquatic Federation, a being that resembled a very sophisticated sea anemone, rippled with concern. What about their biological ecosystem? That's where it gets really interesting, Krim Balks said, his eye twitching. Their planet hosts an estimated 8.7 million species, most of which have evolved specifically to compete with each other for survival. The humans sit at the top of this system as apex predators, despite being physically inferior to most of their planet's megafauna. How is that possible? Intelligence, tool use, and what they call spite, Admiral zyx'thok interjected. They're the only species we've encountered that weaponizes their environment's hostility. Commander Murphy's voice suddenly crackled through the Council's communication system, causing several delegates to jump in surprise. Sorry to interrupt, folks, but we've been monitoring your discussion. Just wanted to clarify a few things. Counselor Vexnara managed to compose herself enough to respond. Commander Murphy, how are you accessing our private communication channels? Oh, your people left some technical manuals behind when they evacuated. Fascinating reading. Your technology is really sophisticated but not particularly secure. We made some improvements. The implications of that statement hung in the air like a bad smell. Anyway, Murphy continued cheerfully, we wanted to make sure you got the full picture. Dr. Reeves has prepared a presentation. Dr. Reeves' voice joined the channel, carrying her usual tone of scientific enthusiasm. Thank you, Jake. Council members, I've been reviewing your threat assessment, and I think there might be some misunderstandings. Earth isn't actually that dangerous once you know what you're doing. Not that dangerous? Admiral zyx'thok's voice cracked. Your atmospheric composition is toxic to half the known species in the galaxy. Well, yes, but that's just because you're not adapted to high oxygen environments. It's perfectly safe for anyone with the right equipment. We've prepared a comprehensive safety guide for future visitors. The council chamber fell silent. Future visitors? Counselor Vexnara asked weakly. Oh, sure, Commander Murphy replied. We're always happy to have tourists. Just follow the safety guidelines, get your vaccinations, bring appropriate protective gear, and file the proper environmental impact assessments. Standard stuff. You want us to visit your Deathworld voluntarily? It's not a Deathworld if you're prepared for it, Dr. Reeves said reasonably. It's just a planet with character. Besides, we've got some beautiful vacation spots. The Great Barrier Reef, the Amazon Rainforest, Yellowstone National Park. Just avoid Australia, unless you're feeling particularly adventurous. The final vote was unanimous. Earth was reclassified as a protected world, not for the humans' protection, but for everyone else's. A new galactic regulation was established, informally known as the Earth Clause. Any species contemplating contact with humans must first demonstrate survival capabilities in a Class 10 or higher hostile environment. The humans, meanwhile, established the Galactic Tourism Bureau and began offering extreme environment adventure tours to other species. The waiting list was surprisingly long. As Admiral zyx'thok filed his final report, he included one last observation, recommendation for future diplomatic contact, approach humans with respect, preparation, and a comprehensive medical kit. They are not malicious. But they are the product of a world that considers our worst nightmares to be Tuesday afternoon in Kansas. And somewhere in the depths of space, word spread from species to species, don't mess with the humans. And whatever you do, don't visit their planet unless you want to find out why they call it home. Earth's reputation was secure, and humanity had officially become the galaxy's most respected species, mostly because everyone else was too terrified to be anything but polite.